Have you ever asked yourself why sleepiness settles in within a few hours of being awake and why it's so hard to keep focused throughout the day? When we're sleepy, we tell ourselves that coffee is the solution and that it's the only way we can start our day. But what if that wasn't the case? What if we found out that we've all got what it takes to be top performing, focused and productive individuals without the aid of any drug? And that all that is necessary is a bit of willpower to change your sleeping habits. Hi everyone, Theo here, and this is the first episode of Theo's Book Corner, a new series in which I'm going to take a look at key concepts from books that have changed my perspective on the world in some way or another. Today we'll be thinking about the benefits of sleep for learning and productivity through the lens of Matthew Walker's Why We Sleep. If I told you there existed a drug that would help you learn more and faster, as well as improve your lifespan and prevent cancer and heart disease, you'd probably either not believe me or rush to the drugstore to get it. Well, luckily there is something that does just that, and also it's free, and that is sleep. It's just that we need to take control over it. According to the author, a leading authority in modern sleep research, a good night's sleep of 8-9 hours brings all the benefits mentioned above, yet we constantly choose to deprive ourselves of it. And sleep deprivation has devastating effects, in fact so much so that the Guinness Book of Records is no longer recognizing attempts at breaking the world record for sleep deprivation. Sleep loss is linked to neurological and psychiatric conditions such as Alzheimer's disease, anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, stroke, chronic pain, as well as cancer, heart disease, and a shorter life. So losing sleep, besides making you feel dizzy, unproductive, and miserable, also has very serious health implications, and I wish I'd realized this sooner. In the past, I used to think of sleep as a complete waste of time, and always tried to cut back on sleep while remaining functioning during the day. During university, I went to sleep very late and tried to wake up early in the morning, but the reality was that I only managed this when I had deadlines approaching or classes in the morning. This unhealthy habit unfortunately made me a lot less productive, motivated, and healthy than I wish I had been. But Matthew Walker's book completely changed the way I view sleep, and I think it will change yours too. By reading the book, I realized I was basically self-medicating my sleep deprivation with caffeine. So I decided to completely rethink my schedule, and it's really working wonders for me. I've been going to sleep at 11 p.m. for a few weeks now and waking up before my alarm at about 7:30. I feel healthy, refreshed, and in a productive mood every day. This schedule actually reminds me of my last 2 high school years, which I regard as my 2 most disciplined years and which got me into Cambridge in the first place. But how come there are so many benefits associated with sleep, despite it being a seemingly unproductive time? Well, in fact, the author stresses that sleep is a very eventful time for the brain. He says, "Sleep is not the absence of wakefulness, it is far more than that. Our nighttime sleep is an exquisitely complex, metabolically active, and deliberately ordered series of unique stages." Now let's take a look at the processes that happen in the brain that are relevant to learning and studying. One such process is the formation of long-term memories. During the day we accumulate information and it's stored in the region of our brain which is called the hippocampus. However, the hippocampus has limited storage, much like a computer's RAM memory, which stands for random access memory and is the memory in which instances of the various apps and programs are opened. Well, during sleep, the information from the hippocampus is transferred to the cortex, which has a lot more storage space and is more like a hard drive in computer terms. This theory has been tested by the use of daytime naps, and actually the group that had a nap in between 2 study sessions after the morning study session did 20% better in the afternoon study session than the group that did not have a nap. And the reason for that is that during that nap, during sleep, the information from the hippocampus was transferred to the cortex, and so the hippocampus was freed up so that new information can go in. So what we can take from this in our learning endeavors is that a good night's sleep before learning will help refresh our hippocampus and free up some space so that we can accumulate a lot of information during the day of studying. But studies have found that sleep the night after learning is also crucial. Through a process called consolidation, the brain practically clicks save on the information that it has already learned during the day. This process happens most efficiently in the early hours of the night, which is rich in deep and REM sleep, as opposed to the late night REM-rich sleep. If you were wondering, REM sleep does not refer to those times when you fall asleep to the songs of the band REM. REM sleep stands for Rapid Eye Movement Sleep, and is a period of deep sleep when you dream and your eyes move. NREM is simply non-REM, and it can be light NREM sleep and deep NREM sleep. It's the deep NREM sleep in which we consolidate information. This cycle from light NREM sleep to deep NREM to REM sleep repeats every 90 minutes, so next time you set your alarm, you should take that into consideration. So for example, 6 hours of sleep would mean 4 completed cycles, 7.5 hours are 5 completed cycles, and 9 hours are 6 completed cycles. You should aim to set your alarm after the completion of such a cycle, because otherwise you risk waking up right in the middle of a REM sleep period, which is the worst because you wake up confused and a long period of sleep inertia follows afterwards. And you should also take into account that it takes the average human 14 minutes to fall asleep. Now, a great site that can help you set your alarm at the right time at the end of a cycle is Sleepy Time. I'll link to it in the description, and you can check that out if you want to sleep in a more organized manner. Also bear in mind that these cycles are not equal in NREM and REM sleep throughout the night. So earlier in the night the cycles are richer in deep NREM sleep, while later in the night REM sleep predominates. So we should go to sleep earlier rather than later in order to get both of them, especially that we rely on that deep NREM sleep for consolidating our information. A cool technique you can use right before falling asleep to retain information you had a hard time remembering is a process called targeted memory reactivation. Basically, you make a list of all those pieces of information and revise them right before going to sleep. This way, throughout the night, our brains will enhance those individual memories which we want to keep. This is a great tactic for complex information right before exams. However, this doesn't mean we should cram everything the day before the exam. As mentioned before, it's only so much that the hippocampus can take before it needs to be flushed. Another crucial process for learning and recalling information is forgetting. While we sleep, our brains delete stored information that we no longer need, in order to make room for new information. The rate at which we forget learned information increases exponentially every day that passes without us revising it, because the brain considers it unimportant and discards it. That's why it's so important to have a revision schedule alongside a schedule for learning new material. I would say that a ratio of 20% revision to 80% new information would be a good ratio to start with. And of course, right before exams, revision should be more prevalent in your study schedule. But Walker also stresses that it's not just textbook learning that is enhanced by sleep. The author recalls in his book a conversation he had with a pianist, and which fueled his research in this direction. As a pianist, he said, "I have an experience that seems far too frequent to be chance. I'll be practicing a particular piece even late into the evening, and I cannot seem to master it. Often, I make the same mistake at the same place in a particular movement. I go to bed frustrated, but when I wake up the next morning and sit back down at the piano, I can just play perfectly." Personally, I've had the exact same experience in the past with both guitar and piano. And Walker's research found that time asleep indeed incubates what is called skill memory perfection. What we usually call muscle memory is in fact brain memory, and it's routines in the brain that are formed while we sleep based on the activities that we do throughout the day. Apparently, it's the last 2 hours of an 8-hour sleep that are most strongly linked to such motor skill enhancements in the brain. This relationship between sleep and motor performance has huge implications for both art and sports, and I personally can't wait to try it out some more when it comes to guitar practice. Last but not least, REM sleep is incredibly important in enhancing our ability to link and use learned information in creative ways. During REM sleep, our brains make connections between the most distant elements which they have stored, and such connections they would never attempt during the day. This is perhaps one of the reasons why to Freud it seemed that during sleep, during dreams, our repressed memories and wishes came to life. So by fusing disparate chunks of knowledge, our brains foster impressive problem-solving abilities. And if you want to read more about this, you can definitely check out the book, which is linked in the description, because there's a whole chapter on REM sleep and dreams, which is really fascinating. So I really hope you enjoyed this first episode of Theo's Book Corner and that you learned something that you can apply to your own life. Now, if you got up to this point, I'd really appreciate it if you liked this video, as it really helps with the algorithm. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this one. If you'd like to receive more insights from the books I read and the podcasts I listen to, I'm writing a weekly newsletter on Sundays, and I'd really be delighted to have you as a subscriber there. You can find the link in the video description, and you can also see the other issues that I've already published by accessing that link. Apart from that, take care, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.